Hey, so I wanted to come on here and talk about something that the Lord gave me yesterday that was really special. So I always try to broaden the horizons of the girls by, when they talk about things that everybody just sort of assumes are automatic, like sickness, aging, death, not being able to fly, whatever it is, time travel, anything, I try to remind them that many different people through the ages actually have avoided human limitation, and they're always like, how can that be, and I try to let them know that there's just a way of plugging into the life of God through intimacy with Him that can radically shift how we experience life. And understandably, sometimes Clara will say things like, she'll bring up some of these lack of limitations that we've talked about, and she will also say something like, and if you really know Jesus, you can, do this or that. And so I asked her the other day, I said that is true, but that's not really the beauty of knowing Jesus. The beauty of knowing Jesus is Jesus. And I said, do you understand? And she told me she didn't, which is understandable because she is 8. And so I asked her this question, which I genuinely didn't know how she would answer, which was, why do you love Daddy? Do you love Daddy because of, you just enjoy being with him? Or is it the things that he does for you that make you feel the way that you feel? And both of the girls, because Holland was there too, simultaneously chimed in with, because of what he does for us, which Michael's a very hands-on, involved dad. And so, I wasn't, shocked by this, to hear what they had to say. And, sorry. And also I'm wearing my retainers. And I don't think they're 6 and 8 years old. Like I wasn't like shocked to hear their answer. It's an immature form of love that values what someone does for you above simply gazing into the face of a person and enjoying their company, enjoying who they are above anything they might do for you. So that has been on my mind, and again, I wasn't like upset with the children about this. It was just on my mind. Yesterday, I thought, as I was unpacking, that I should listen to some Eric Gilmore, who, if you've ever listened to him, you know that he is like one of the premier, like, practice of the presence, intimacy with God, humans on the planet. And his message was about Jesus for Jesus. And I have heard Justin Abraham say a number of times that, he's quoted Madame Guyon in saying that you have to even leave your spiritual needs behind when you are approaching the Lord. Even every need that you have, kind of, and I've heard him say that a number of times, but I didn't really understand. What does that mean? Like, leave your spiritual needs behind. So as Eric Gilmore was preaching, his life message, which is you are changed, everything is changed by gazing at Jesus. Now, I know this is something that's gotten talked about a lot by a lot of us. I don't think that most Christians would even be able to give lip service to the idea that the agent of change is gazing at the face of Jesus. And I definitely don't think that most of us are doing that, very often or well or whatever. And of course, I want to do better at that myself. But when I heard Eric Gilmore say, no matter what problem you have, no matter what's going on with you, whether it's that you're impatient or you have addictions or you have problems in your family, any issue that you're struggling with, the answer is looking at Jesus. Including physical stuff. The answer is looking at Jesus. That is the answer. But he said, if you come and look at Jesus with the idea of like, I'm impatient, I need to change, so I'm coming to Jesus and I'm looking at the face of Jesus because I need to be changed, that's still Jesus plus something. It's not pure undiluted gospel, and it's not mature love, Like, mature love, it's still thinking about yourself. It's still thinking about the things that you need, even though the Lord wants you to change, even though you want you to change, even though the world needs you to change and me to change and all of us to change. If our primary focus is still that change, or even if that's simply mixed in, then we've still missed the point, which is simply the face of Jesus. And it's not that I think that the Lord is upset with us when we come to him and we say, I have this or that issue, Lord, please help me. Or even when we come to look at him, simply to adore him. If you're even at the place where you're regularly doing that, if you're coming simply to adore him and you still have that in your mind of like, if I adore him, then my addiction issues will break. Then I will be more patient. Then I will be more loving, all this stuff. Any more than, I was mad at Clara when she began to walk and she stumbled. I'm delighted. I was delighted when she took her first steps. I wasn't upset that she wasn't very good at it, and I'm not upset with her as an 8-year-old to hear that she's saying, I love Daddy because of what he does for me, because, he makes me pancakes or does projects with me or whatever. I was like, okay, you're 8, like you're immature, and having immature love is, a normal 8-year-old thing. But as we grow, we have to become so entranced with him that we mature by looking at him to the point where there's not anything mixed in, including leaving behind your physical needs and even leaving behind your spiritual needs as you approach him. And yes, human limitations will begin to fall away, if you know him at that level. That is a thing that happens to people. And I know that most people haven't walked in it, and I know most people don't even know that it's available. But, there are many saints throughout the ages who've had these incredible miracles, who've done, who've transcended what we think of as, indisputable truths of the human experience. That is the case. But I didn't understand, again, that Madame Guyon quote of, you have to leave behind as you adore him, even your spiritual needs. And, I wanted to say one more thing. It sounds so good to itching ears to say, I've come to Jesus to look at him so I can change. I did a Bible study last semester written by John MacArthur, and at the end of it he said that holiness is something like holiness is the highest value of the Christian life, or the point of the Christian life, or something like that. And I circled it and I was like, no, Jesus is the point. It sounds so good to our self-righteous hearts to hear that holiness is the point. But that's not true. That still missed the love affair. That still has missed the face of Jesus. We've missed the point if we think that holiness is the point. And that's exactly the same thing. It feels so good to think, well, I have an issue with anger. I yell at my children too much. I have issues with addiction. I have a physical issue that needs to be healed. I'm going to go to Jesus and he'll change it. Again, he's not angry that you've done this. He does want you to bring all of your needs to him. But there is a higher place where you are enraptured simply with his face and not with what he does for you in the divine love affair. And that place is not only the place of mature love, but it is also the place where all of your issues will be addressed and you will be changed the most as you walk in that. So, love you.